the real estate agent game, it's all about confidence. I mean, they want to work with somebody who's they know, like, and trust. And if you don't have the confidence to convey that to your client, then it's going to be an uphill battle. So having those first couple sales, I was just like, sky is the limit. And so I think in my first year, one of my big sales was actually to the founder of MySpace. I don't know. A lot of
MySpace Tom?
Yeah, that's my good buddy.
Did you sell him the Ala Moana one?
Yeah, and I sold him that one.
You did?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Deals in Aloha podcast, where we talk about real estate deals, hope to leave an impact on our audience, and of course, spread aloha. You can find us, guys, on all social media platforms at Kamohai and Tristyn. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can reach way more people. And let's go.
Let's go. So today we have Ben Fieman, the founding real estate agent at Compass Hawaii. He also has a background working in the family business, local boutique. I don't know if you guys all know that.
Everybody knows that
you're
in Hawaii, if you live in Hawaii.
You started Kamohai beachwear, and you're currently invested in the lace stand, and you might do your own bar. So I'm really interested in learning about all of this. Sounds like you're an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah, so I kind of grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My dad started local boutique back in 1978. Well, actually, my mom and dad together, and then my dad took it over. And so I've seen him basically on the grind, just working in the stores late at night, sometimes late to pick me up from school and things like that. But I know it's for the betterment of our family.
Right.
And then all that hard work and patience finally paid off about the late 90s or early 2000s. His business just completely took off. And I think that kind of gave me the inspiration to where I feel like I have the ability to do something like that myself. I like having control. I was never meant for a 9-to-5, helping someone else just and using the fruits of my labor to make someone else wealthy. And I always thought, I have control over my life, and I can bring success to myself and my family and those around me.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I've dabbled in a bunch of different things. I worked in my family business after going to college and grad school for a while. Started my own line of bikinis called Kaimana Beachwear.
Yeah.
So that was fun. A lot of pool parties, fashion shows, events. And then, something was kind of missing, that I only had experience in my family business. And I thought, before I get too much older, I want to try something else kind of a little bit more on my own. And so I kind of got into real estate, and I just fell in love with it. Everything kind of spoke to me. It was about statistics, numbers, negotiations, people skills, all the things that I really enjoy. And so I just kind of asked my dad. I said, hey, I love the family business. I'm not feeling as fulfilled. I don't have a fashion background. And so he was super supportive, and I took a leap of faith and started off at locations, and then now here I am
that's
today.
crazy. So was there like somebody in your life that was like, hey, real estate is this, or was it you like searching it out?
How did you get introduced to real estate?
Yeah,
How did you find it?
Actually, so it's actually from another agent. Shout out to Holden Lau from Coldwell Banker.
Shout out.
But we were, he's a good friend of mine, and I was just kind of talking with him at that time, saying, I'm not sure about the family business and this and that. And he's like, whoa, you should try real estate. He was in real estate for a while back then. And so he gave me the book, and he's like, study this, pass the test. And when I was studying for the book, honestly, I wasn't very intrigued by real estate. It was just a bunch of memorization.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize back then was that real estate test has absolutely nothing to do with selling real estate.
Isn't that funny?
If I were to take that test today, I might fail.
You might fail.
It's just a bunch of memorization of things that you never run into and you don't need to really know about. So he kind of gave me that first kickstart, and then when I signed up at locations where he was at the time, I think day one of training, that's when I really got hooked. We had a person named Carl Worthy there. He was the trainer. He trained all of the new agents there. And then the very first day, he's talking about like charts and sales charts and the cycles and this and that. And I was just like, oh my God, this
lit up.
like something about it was just like, dude, this is me. This is so me.
So you consider yourself a number guy, like an analytical thinker?
Yep. So I have a degree in industrial systems engineering, and math minor. So I'm very, very into numbers and negotiations and things like that. So
that's it. That's really interesting because your family was like entrepreneurial, creative, like artsy kind of I would think, you know what I mean, with that business. But you decided to go to school for
the opposite.
Yeah. Like mathematics. Was that calling you too? Like, is that just what you were interested in?
Well, to tell you the truth, my dad basically said, as long as you're in school, I support you. The minute you're out of school, you're on your own.
Same.
Dude, my dad told me that too.
So I'm like, I'm gonna stay in school as long as I can stomach it. Like I'm not gonna get a doctorate or anything.
Right.
I at least got my master's. But no, actually, my dad doesn't really have that artsy fashion sense. He's actually more like an engineer.
Love that.
He's got his hands in everything. Like when the machine is breaking down, he's in there fixing it. Yeah, but he's not actually doing the design from beginning to end. He's basically approving the designs once they kind of come on his table.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he was more business minded.
Yeah.
I can relate to you a lot because I grew up with entrepreneurs. You know, they ran their own business. Maybe they were late to pick me up from school once in a while, but like they were always working, and I saw them hustling my whole life. And I think when you grow up with entrepreneurs as parents, it does one of two things, like makes you run in the opposite direction or you follow directly in the same footsteps. And you and I did that.
Yeah. That's super cool. So you get into locations. I just from what I know about, because disclaimer, we're not agents.
We are
right?
not agents.
But obviously we love agents. We work with agents all the time. We're in the same field.
Close friends with agents.
But I hear a lot about getting into the right brokerage, right? Yep. And so when you picked locations, was it because that was what your friend was in and you kind of followed in his footsteps? Or did you hear like, hey, locations has a really good education program. They're going to train you. They're going to teach you. How important is that? Because we do have a lot of new agents that or people that are interested into getting in the space. Yeah. What was that introduction to locations for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say it's actually a mixture of both. I did have a lot of friends at locations already, so that already kind of made them the front runner. Yeah. But I did my due diligence and I did interview at all the local brokerages, and I asked them a bunch of questions, you know, like what is your training program? What kind of split should I expect? Yep. And after I interviewed everyone, I just felt like locations did have the right training program for me. And sure enough, they did. I mean, I think my first year I sold a little over $7 million worth of real estate.
Wow.
Second year was like 12. And after that, it just kind of kept doubling. So I think it was definitely a great start. Bill Chi, who was the founder, had a mentorship program that I was in. And he's just such a brilliant mind. He's no longer working at the company, but back then he was just always so forward thinking and just really pushed me to dream bigger.
Yeah. I love that.
That's awesome.
I have a quick back question because you said your dad, the business like really took off. Did your family ever get into any kind of real estate? I know a lot of entrepreneurial families, they start to make some money. They're like, oh, I need to put this somewhere. Were they like buying real estate and stuff? Was there anything like that happening?
It's kind of funny. I think my dad probably put most of the money back into the business, which was smart, which made it successful. But he's basically, I mean, he's had some smaller deals here and there, but his two main ones were he bought a house in Diamond Head back in I think 1999 or something, which is worth way more now.
Triple.
And then he bought his building, which is on the corner of Yonge and Keamoku, and both of which he paid off right away.
So he owns the building where his store is in?
Or no? No, that's where the factory is. So he owns the whole building. So it's a 3-story building. And I think he paid those off pretty quickly when he could. And I think those two decisions alone really sustained him for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super cool. I mean, your dad bought his building too.
In Kalihi, right by Farrington High School. And then now he, that's where he ran his own business out of for many, 20 plus years. And then now it's a part of their retirement, they can rent it out and live off the cash flow. So, I mean, that's the power of real estate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your first year at locations, I mean, you did 7 million. That's kind of
bananas.
unheard of, right?
Yeah, that is unheard of.
So let's talk about that. What did that first year look like? Why and how were you so successful?
Yeah. So when I got into real estate, my dad was very supportive, but at the same time, his deal was, okay, you got to give back all the money that I gave you on salary.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in hindsight, I didn't really realize what he was doing, but that really, that was an important decision, because if I didn't do that, I probably would have coasted for the next year or two, because I had that in the bank account. But because I had to give everything back, and I had nothing, that's what made me hustle. And then secondly, I got to go find my own place, obviously. So yeah, it was a little bit tough because I had to kind of take a couple steps backwards in my living style.
Right.
So I found a roommate, and I found a place right across the street from locations.
Oh,
and
nice.
so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go in, I'm going to go all in. And I want to be right next to the office, and I want to learn and absorb from everybody as much as I can. Because if I'm further away from the office, I might not go. But if I'm across the street, there's no excuses.
No excuses.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was renting there and just walking across the street. And the day after we finished the Greenie training, I'm like, all right, great. What do I do now? There's no one there to tell you what to do. And I think that's why a lot of agents fail, is because they require someone to tell them what to do. But luckily, I'm kind of from an entrepreneurial background, so I kind of know how to set up a system for myself, and I know what I need to do, and I give myself my to-do list.
Love that.
So I started off, I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna get into real estate, the first thing I want to do is I want to load up my CRM as much as possible. I want as many people in there as possible to send out my announcement letter, like, hey, I'm a new realtor.
Yep.
You can use me for any of your purchases.
Right.
Most people, when they send out that letter, they maybe have 100 people or so. I think I had almost 2,000 people that I sent that first letter out to, and it was a lot of work, but I just imported people, putting notes in, tagging them, and then I sent the announcement out. And then, a lot of realtors think, oh, people are just going to pick up the phone and call you and nothing happened. I got a lot of congratulations, but there was no one I want to go buy a house.
Yeah.
So then there's more of a kind of waiting game. So I would be at the office pretty late at night, and there's one other real estate agent that would be there. Her name's Kumiko Burns. She was one of the partners at Locations. And then she kind of saw that, I wasn't really eating and stuff. So she would always bring little lunches or dinners. And I was like, no, please, I'm okay. And she's like, no, go ahead, eat.
Yeah.
And so she would basically feed me a lot. And then we just started talking story one night, and it turns out I went to high school with her daughter. We're same classmates at Iolani.
Yeah.
And so we became pretty close, and then she said, oh, I have a Japanese client coming into town looking for this. Can you do some research for me? And I'm like, absolutely. I had nothing to do at that point. So did a bunch of research, sent it to her, and she's like, wow, this is actually really good. Do you want to do this deal with me? I'm like, absolutely.
Yes.
And so I drove around her clients with her, and she gave me kind of that confidence to feel like I can do this.
Right.
And we ended up closing on that sale, and she actually ended up giving me more commission than she initially promised. She said, hey, you did a lot of work
really
on this. I'm going to give you a bigger amount. And I think that early sale, most agents, I think it takes them months and months and months to get that first sale. I had mine in escrow, I think within the first month after the training program.
Yeah.
So that just boosted my confidence.
Totally.
And then after that, it just spiraled.
Yeah.
My second one was a buddy of mine who works at the bar that I frequent all the time, and he wanted to buy something. I'm like, okay, sure. And then the other one was my landlord. Actually, I went to an open house, and it was a bad open house. Only 2 people came by. I was like, damn, I just wasted 3 hours of my Sunday. Come home, taking out my open house signs, and my landlord's like, oh, you're an agent? And I'm like, yeah, I'm an agent.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, actually, I wanted to buy a vacation rental property at Island Colony. I was like, so that was my third sale.
Wow.
So then I realized with real estate, it's man, you don't know where it's going to come from. So just always be ready, always be grateful, and
and open to having that conversation.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I feel like you were doing a couple things I want to unpack. So you basically did not have a plan B. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, when they have a plan B, they don't go all in and put in the amount of effort necessary to actually succeed in that game. You know what I mean? Because like for us, there was no plan B. We were against the wall. We didn't have another choice. Similar with you. And then you were putting in the hours that other people weren't. And then that's how the opportunity presented itself. Do you know what I mean? Like you were at the office late when not many were there putting in those hours.
Exactly.
You know?
I think it's that, and I also feel like with a lot of entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little out there in the little spacey.
We're dreamers,
right? We're dreamers. We get very sidetracked very easily, and that next shiny thing is like right there. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that place where, okay, the training's done. Now what do I do? You had that specific
like initiative.
know-withal, an initiative to like, okay, I need to set up a system for myself. I need to do all of these things. And all of that stuff had helped, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
With how successful you did.
The key to actually being successful in anything is to have that initiative and create the opportunity for yourself. You don't sit around and wait for someone to hand you something. Like if you don't have an answer to it, go find it. Go ask.
Exactly.
Don't have any shame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially like on social media, they see all of our wins, and so they think, "Wow, he must live this glorious life of a realtor, just showing $1 million houses."
He comes from money,
yeah,
and
exactly.
he's somebody handed.
Exactly, and I don't think I would say only about 10% of that is true. It's like they don't see the other 90% where I'm working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm up till from 10 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to go through my emails. They don't see any of that kind of stuff either.
Yeah. I that's the blessing and curse of social media. You know what I mean? Because it's the same with us too. You know.
Oh, they make all this money and flip all these houses, and they must come from money, this and that.
They don't see us having to fire contractors and going to all the, you know what I mean?
They
like
don't
all
see
of the
us
all the
being
hard
in
work
debt.
behind the scene.
They don't see us stressed out on like, is this actually going to work out? Crying in the corner. They don't see all that.
Yeah, exactly.
I also heard in the beginning how much confidence that first sale got you. You know what I mean? And I remember just how much that impacted us. The first time that we actually did a deal and we saw that check come into the bank, right? Because for us, the first 2 deals we did were nightmares.
They were not, we didn't make money on them.
We didn't make money on them at all. And they were like 8 months long, and we had to fire contractors. And
horrible.
so we always say those first deal were like our college education into the real estate space.
Investing space.
And we really wouldn't have changed those things for anything. Now when you look back on them, you know, when you're in it, it's very painful. But I think that the third deal we did, we ended up doing it. It was like a month-long deal. We flipped it. We made $40,000.
Yeah.
It was on a townhouse.
We were like, wow, this is what it was supposed to feel like.
Everything changed after that.
Yeah.
Like we had got that confidence. You know what I mean? So can you talk a little bit about that first deal, the confidence that you gained from it, and how that helped propel your, you know what I mean, into your next one?
Yeah, and I really like your guys' story, actually. I mean, I think most people, they give up after the first or second try. After the second loss, you're like, oh, there's no money to be made here. And you guys like stuck with it. So, yeah, I think, same thing for real estate. I helped a lot of clients like yourselves who are investors, developers, home flippers, and things like that. And I've seen them make a lot of money. And I'm like, wow, obviously I'm really focused on real estate sales, but I was like, it'd be fun to at least try one for myself to see what it's like. And so I bought my house in Kaimoki, and man, I ran into so many hurdles. And it took away a lot of time from my own business of just selling real estate.
Totally.
But I did it because same thing. I wanted to have the confidence in learning about how to fix up a property so that I can convey that knowledge to my clients.
Yeah.
How valuable is that?
Yeah, it's been so valuable. So now that I've gone through it with my own house, now I can walk the walk and,
Yeah.
talk to my clients and tell them like, okay, this is what it's probably going to cost to do
Yeah.
this and fix this up.
And you can see things now through a different lens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so even though I spent a lot of money to fix up my own home, that knowledge and that experience and the confidence I've gained as a result of that, okay, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Totally.
Then, I think that's been the most valuable. In terms of real estate sales, I think the real estate agent game, it's all about confidence. I mean, they want to work with somebody who's they know, like, and trust. And if you don't have the confidence to convey that to your client, then it's going to be an uphill battle. So having those first couple sales, I was just like, sky is the limit. And so I think in my first year, one of my big sales was actually to the founder of MySpace. I don't know. A lot of people.
MySpace Tom?
Yeah, that's my good buddy.
Did you sell him the Ala Moana one?
Yeah, I sold him that one.
You did?
Crazy.
Do you know John Hook?
Yeah.
Okay,
friends with them.
John Hook's like my really good
He shot
friend.
our wedding.
Oh, nice.
I've
Okay.
hung
I
out
see what you-
with John and Tom.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. That's crazy. That you're the agent that sold them.
Yeah,
That's a good friend. That's classic.
and I think normal like newer agents would be like really afraid and
Intimidated,
intimidated.
right?
But I knew him back when I had my bikini company, and so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, you want to go look at some properties? Like, and I did it on a very like relaxed.
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to sell him anything.
Just casual conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, I want to go see these properties.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Come with me.
he's qualified enough
Yeah.
to be able to buy them. So I'm like, let's just go look around. I know some people and stuff, and so I got him into some like really nice properties, and it was like really cool for me to see. I mean, we went to like the Hokua penthouse. We went to a bunch of Park Lane penthouses.
Yeah,
And
that would have been super fun.
yeah. So it was super awesome. But I ended up selling him that, and then he just bought another North Shore house for me.
Didn't
So it was
Kahana
great.
go and hang out with him?
Yeah. My brother's good, like real good friends with John.
yeah.
And so they've hung out with Tom at the houses. So
Yeah.
super cool.
So
Super cool
side
guy.
note, our first flip was in Kaimuki.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on
yeah.
16th Ave.
16th Ave. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's crazy.
It's a little tiny 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot on a 2,500 square foot lot.
Oh, wow.
It was
It's like
wild.
a little tiny house.
Wild ride, man.
But
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Yeah.
So so you get into locations, you stay
Yep.
at locations forever for sure, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, well, I'm at locations, and then the company actually had a lot of shifting. Bill Chi left,
Yeah.
and there was like just kind of like a big
Yeah.
whirlwind, like bunch of people leaving and going here and there. And locations was great. I think the system that they had set up, there's partners there, and the partners are incentivized to give knowledge to the newer agents. And I just felt like that was so valuable. Their monthly sales meetings were amazing, great networking, and I got so many nuggets out of those
good.
conversations.
Love that.
But yeah, then came this opportunity. A couple of buddies of mine were like, we've never seen what's on the other side of the fence.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've never looked before.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah,
looked. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, why not look? Doesn't hurt to look.
Right.
Yeah.
So we started going around to like different brokerages, and I just started to ask questions and say, what do you guys do different? And it turns out like a lot of these other companies are amazing too. They all have great training programs.
Yep.
Great splits, great marketing that they can provide, great support systems. And so that kind of got me thinking. I'm like, wow, maybe there's something
Here.
something
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Compass was a company on the mainland that was generating a lot of buzz. I was kind of hearing them through Inman magazines and all these other real estate outlets. And so I heard that they wanted to come to Hawaii.
Right.
And so we were like, okay, we got to figure out like who's in charge of this thing. So we got in touch with them, and we got in touch with corporate out in Beverly Hills. They like flew down to talk to us, and what they explained to us, I was just really, I was really excited because they're more of like a technology company, and
Yeah.
they can give my clients a competitive advantage. And so, for example, we have this Compass Concierge program, which I don't think any other local brokerage has. But we will actually front the cost to pay for renovations or anything related to selling your home or fixing it up. And the process is so simple, and it's 0% interest, no added fees or anything, and it just gets repaid at the close of escrow or 1 year's time, whichever comes sooner. And so it's just a lot of people have a house they want to sell and
But it
they don't
needs
have
some
the
work.
money to
Yeah.
fix it up.
Yep.
And so we're able to come in and basically fix it up for them so they can achieve a higher sales price. So
right.
Love
it's
that.
just a total win-win. And, that program alone was very exciting for me to be able to offer that to my
Totally.
clients.
To your clients.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I'm one of the founding agents for Compass. When we first started, we didn't have MLS set up yet.
No way.
I couldn't even like send properties to my
Your
clients. But they quickly figured it out as any company would. And I think in our first year of existence, our company sold over $2 billion worth of real
Wow.
estate.
Wow.
And we basically got all of the top agents throughout the state and
Yep.
put this company together. And we're making a name for ourselves for sure.
We use
Yeah.
Compass agents.
Yeah. We use a few.
Yeah.
Everybody that we talk to just has the best things to say
We
about Compass, and
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because we're in this new day and age of brokerages, right? Where a lot of people are moving to like EXP and to Real. There's another one
that
called
Real
Real,
brokerage.
Yeah.
and away from like these like private brokerages. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
And so, what would you tell somebody that was thinking about joining something? What does Compass have to offer? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Besides the concierge, which is really cool.
I
Yeah.
love that
I
program.
know.
We do that on the investing side.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we
very
do on
similar, but there's so many people that are like, they don't even know if they just put a little bit money
yeah.
into their property, they
Yeah.
could sell it for way more, especially here on Oahu.
Yeah.
So that's so good that you guys do
Yeah,
that.
every dollar you spend, you get about $3 back in terms of Compass
Easily.
Concierge
Yeah.
just by making it more eye appealing.
Yeah.
But so for a new agent, if you're trying to be a solo agent and go on your own, first off, Compass doesn't take any new agents, so Compass wouldn't be an option. I would recommend one of the larger brokerages, maybe Locations or Coldwell Banker or
Yeah.
Corcoran, that has a really good training program.
Yeah.
Because that will give you the foundation and the confidence that you need to make that first sale.
Yeah.
If you're a newer agent and you're more focused on, maybe helping out a team, then, Compass would be an option, and that would kind of open the doors to all the other brokerages. But, that would kind of be my advice if you're just starting out and looking to get into the industry.
Yeah, we just were in Kona, and we just so happened to, our other realtor friend was there, and I didn't know he was with Compass, but he is, and he was just like listing how
All the
amazing
good
it
things.
was, and like all the things, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know all of that.
Yeah. One of the things I like about Compass is definitely the technology. I'm not one of the people who want to get dressed up and go to the office every single day.
Yeah.
I love being able to wake up, do my morning routine,
Yep.
walk my dogs, and just still be in my pajamas and walk over to my office in front of my home computer.
Yeah.
And the technology, their technology is meant to provide support for a mobile real estate agent. So I'm always, at showings, at listings, or at this and that. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
as long as I have my laptop, I can do all of my work. And so I really like that about Compass. And I think, some companies will definitely have a hard time competing with their technology platform.
Right.
All of their engineers are former Amazon or Google engineers.
Oh, no way.
They're investing a lot in AI right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just really believe that, they're giving us a lot of competitive
Resources.
edge.
Yeah.
Resources.
I
That's
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how many properties did you sell last week? Do you specialize in last year, do you specialize in a certain like pocket of real estate?
Yeah, like, do you have a
luxury,
specialty?
Condos?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is your...
No, I think, a lot of agents, when they start out, they think that there's some kind of like secret sauce, and they focus on this niche,
Yeah.
like they want to like, I only want to, do this part, or I'm only going to farm this area. And
Right.
I think that's a big mistake. I mean, I think you can find that later on, but in the beginning, you really got to be open to everything. So I'm still very open to everything. Obviously, most of my business is kind of in town, but I sell all over the island, even some of the neighbor islands as well. I've been starting to kind of branch
nice.
out a little
I
bit.
love that.
But last year, the Real Trends report came out, so I sold about $43 million in real estate. So
That's
that ranks me number 9th in the state of Hawaii in terms of number of transactions.
Wow.
Damn.
And then number 8th on Oahu in terms of sales volume.
Amazing.
So last year was pretty crazy. I'm pretty much a solo agent. My wife does help me out. You know,
Yeah.
she is licensed. She does some of my showings and
Yeah.
stuff for me.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So she's obviously my huge emotional support system. So
Right.
Yeah.
that's super invaluable.
Oh,
So
totally.
but yeah, last year was just really crazy, just selling a lot. So
Yeah, that's
Are you
cool.
seeing like a shift in the market now?
yeah, so I would like to say like it's just more like normalized. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
a lot of agents got spoiled in the last couple years, and so
Agreed.
you
Investors
just
too.
so you can't think of it as you're having a down year. It's more like it's just more normal right now.
Yeah.
And so I actually enjoy this market. I think it was a little crazy the last 2 years.
I
People were
agree.
offering sight unseen without doing inspections, waiving all their rights, and it was
Yeah.
just scary.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm a negotiator, so it's really hard for me to negotiate in that kind of market.
You can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's-
In today's market, I can negotiate.
Yeah.
I can see that price. I can get that price down. I can get my buyers credits. I can
Yeah.
do all this stuff. And that's
Yeah.
where I really stick
That's
out.
where you
And so
thrive.
I've been providing a lot of value in today's market. For example, right now there's a house in Pacific Heights and it was listed at like 1.37. I got them down all the way to 1.2 and
Wow.
like basically 170,000 less than asking.
That's
Yeah.
a ton.
And I think, it's definitely worth more than that. But
Right.
because they didn't have an offer, I think they overpriced.
Yep.
But
Yep, yep,
I don't
yep.
think by that much.
Right.
And so I was able to get it down, and I still got my client a $5,000 closing credit to
Nice.
basically
See, that's
use on closing costs and
Right.
things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's-
that something like that would never have happened
2 years
in,
ago.
in
No.
a year ago.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? 2 years ago. So
It's wild.
Yeah, that's
it's
cool.
definitely more of a buyer's market, but I agree. I don't think that anything's dipped. It's just normalized,
Yep.
you know? Because we agree. The last couple of years were crazy. It was
Yeah.
out of control.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of investors as well got very, very spoiled and were buying properties they shouldn't have bought.
Right.
And
Because you could buy anything and know you were going to get over asking, you know?
everybody was buying, forecasting appreciation, and that's like the worst possible thing that you
it's a
can do in
no-no.
our
Yeah,
industry,
yeah.
you know? So there's a lot of people that aren't doing what we were doing, what they were doing 2 years ago. They're just
Yeah.
not in the business anymore.
Well, and a
you know?
lot of people got basically caught with their pants down, right? Because they bought bad deals. The market corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now they have to write checks to sell houses, you know?
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing with our industry as far as real estate agents are concerned. The number of sales and the volume might be down this year, but you have to look at our industry. Like we're in a competitive industry. We compete against other agents. This is the time where a lot of the inexperienced agents start leaving the business.
Mm-hmm.
2 years ago, everyone's cousin's
Anyone
auntie's
could
uncle
sell.
has a
license,
license,
and they're selling
and
houses.
They're selling. You just put it up on the MLS, it's gonna sell. You don't
Yeah.
have to do anything.
Right.
Now all those people, they can't find buyers, they can't find sellers, and so they're starting to leave the business. And that's when the full-time guys like myself, who are experienced, we come in and we start picking up a little bit more market share. And
Yeah.
so
Right,
stuff
right.
like this is kind of healthy for the industry as
I
well.
agree.
I
I
agree.
totally agree.
So, what would you say has been your biggest challenge in your agent career thus far?
I would say my ability to let go and delegate. I'm a control freak. I just like things done in a certain way.
You
And
just nudged.
I like perfection.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that I should be offloading that I don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's my biggest issue. Like I don't want a huge team, but I should definitely have at least one agent under me who's
Yeah.
doing some of like the smaller deals and the smaller work. I mean, I take a lot of pride in what I do, and a lot of the first-time home buyers are some of my favorite deals because they're more emotionally involved. I see the
Totally.
excitement.
Yeah.
I see the fear.
Yeah.
And I love watching them get through that because I was in that same position not too long ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, I need to, especially with the amount of sales I'm doing, I need to learn to let go a little bit.
So
And,
you're hiring? Are we hearing that?
I am,
Maybe.
but only one. I only want one.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want this huge team
Yeah.
to where
Yeah.
I feel like I've got to, I've got to feed a whole bunch of mouths.
Yeah,
I
totally.
I just don't
totally
want.
get that.
I mean, I feel like most entrepreneurs are very controlling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like it's probably one of the hardest things that we have to do, but we also know that we have to do. You know what I mean? So
It's also a very hard task. Once you make the decision that, okay, I'm going to delegate this task and bring someone on, you're also taking on another role of leadership and
Exactly.
mentorship and teaching. And if you bring someone on and you're not in the position to put that hat on,
Mm-hmm.
you're almost setting yourself
And them.
and that person up for failure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm proof of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
my first assistant, I set them up for complete failure because
Mm-hmm.
all the information's in my head. I am a control freak,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't create any systems for them to thrive
Mm-hmm.
in their position. You know what I mean? So learning from experience, if you want to delegate, set up the systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't hire just based off of relationship or likability. Hire off of skill set and personality tests because it goes a long way.
I think it's that too, and I also think there's a other side to it where you don't necessarily have to do that if you don't want to. Like
Yeah.
if you're happy with the volume you have, the workload you have, where you are in life, that's great. You know what I mean? That's awesome. But I think society sometimes tells you got to keep growing, you got to keep scaling. It's time to scale, delegate, do all of this stuff, and entrepreneurs are like, okay, I need to listen to this, and they start prematurely doing that, or because they feel like they need to go in that direction. But
Because everyone else is doing that.
Right. I'm here to say, if you're happy with where you're at and what you're doing, stay there. Like it's okay. You
Well,
know what I mean?
success looks different for everybody. So you really have to be willing as an entrepreneur to do a inventory and figure out what your actual happiness and success looks like for your own life. You know, because what we want out of life is probably going to be something completely different than Ben over there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like it's different for everybody, and you have to do, I think, the internal work to figure out what that looks like externally, you know?
Yeah, totally. So I'm interested. What does a typical day look like for you?
Typical day. So I'm kind of a night owl. So I like working at night because the phone's not ringing off the hook, and I can just kind of stay focused a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'll usually go to bed a little bit late. So I'll wake up maybe eight-ish or so.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I gotta, and sleep is super important to me. Like
Love that.
I can't take naps. And like, so I need a full night's rest, like
Yeah.
8-9 hours.
I'm
like
a 10-hour.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
a 10-hour girl.
I need
Easy.
that's my recharge. So
Yeah.
my room is completely blacked out. Like
Yeah.
I can sleep
Did you
in.
paint the walls black though?
No, we
we got
we just got the
blackout
window
curtains,
covered.
See,
Yeah.
I painted my walls
Oh, okay.
black.
That's next
crazy.
level.
Yeah. Next level.
Yeah. So I wake up. I got my morning routine. So I'll start off with 10-minute meditation on this app called Calm. So
yeah.
I'll do a little quick meditation. I have like this little back massager, so I start massaging my
Ooh.
body to
Yeah.
just kind of slowly
Loosen
wake up,
up,
loosen
yeah.
up the muscles a little bit. And then I have another app called Journal. So first thing I'll go and fill out my journal, which is basically the 3 things I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And in order to not just say the same things, I try to look back on the last 24 hours and get real specific. Like,
Yeah.
what is the exact
Like
moment,
detailed.
the detail?
Yeah.
Like,
Love that.
Yeah.
Me
You know,
too.
otherwise, you keep saying the same things over and over. And it doesn't
I'm
have as
grateful
much
for
of an
my
impact.
family.
Exactly.
I'm grateful for
Yeah.
my kids.
No,
Like,
Yeah.
it's like the last 24 hours specifically.
I love
Yeah.
that.
You know,
That's
there
cool.
could have been
Like, go
something really
deep.
bad,
Yeah.
but like, how can you spin that?
Yeah.
3 things I want to accomplish. Same things. Try to get really specific on that. And then self-affirmation
So it's
words.
a 5-minute journal.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
electronically.
it's a free app. I always recommend
Yeah.
everyone to
we
download
do
it.
the 5-minute journal, but we have the books.
Yeah,
He has
so
his book.
yeah.
I have my
I had the book at first,
Yeah.
and I would just don't like having to write things down, and
See,
so
I'm-
I
Totally.
just punch it in my
I'm
phone.
like,
Love
I
that.
need to physically
Yeah,
write it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So then after that, I do my little exercises, sometimes like push-ups and sit-ups,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will say hello to my wife, trying to get present with her, and
Mm-hmm.
then usually we'll feed the dogs and take the dogs on a walk together.
Nice.
So before and the last thing I do, I don't check my phone yet. Like the
Good.
text messages, the social media, none of
Good,
that even
good.
On the
starts.
side.
It's on the side. I don't even see it because I'm really big on the different focuses that iPhone has,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
I don't even
Work,
see. Yeah.
yeah.
And then so we walk the dog. I leave my phone at home. Try to get present with nature, being outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once the dogs come back home, kiss my wife and say, I'm going back. I'm going in the war room.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
when all
That's
hell
when you
breaks
start
loose.
working.
So
Yeah.
go into my office, and then I open my phone, go through text messages first. And then, but before I do email, I like to focus on more proactive activities because email is very reactive. It's people sucking from you, wanting something from you.
Yep.
So I start off proactive. I'll usually probably do a social media post. I will I follow up with 5 of my past clients or any of my people in my CRM.
Yep.
I'll hit 5 of them.
Yep.
And then I'll start getting into my
Like the
emails and
emails.
things like that.
Yeah.
But I wanna win the day. My goal is to always win the day before noon. So
Yeah.
those
Love
3
that.
things that I wanted to accomplish for the day, I try to do that before noon.
Yeah.
Because after noon, that's when all hell breaks loose, and
Yeah.
I got to go on showings and
Gotta
do
go
this and
showings,
that,
drive
and this, that.
around, do
Yeah.
all
And
the
then also
things.
too, my energy level starts to die off.
Totally.
You have the most energy in the morning,
I
Yep.
agree.
and I rather focus on the proactive things that are going to further my life and my career, and then save all the reactive stuff for when I'm starting to like,
Yeah.
you know,
starting
drift
to
off a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that you just openly came out and said that sleep is super important to you,
Yeah.
and you wake up at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Because I feel like very similar to like this success thing and what social media says and what entrepreneurship tells you should do. It's like you need to wake up at 4 a.m.
If you want to be successful, you need to be up at 3:30. You can't
Yeah.
sleep. Like, you know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
like he and I are very much in alignment with you in the sense that you need to figure out what works for you. But just because, you know, if sleep is something your body needs, sleep is something your body needs. Sleep is something my body needs more so than his body. I need 9 to 10 hours in order to be functioning at optimal efficiency.
Yeah, me too.
And waking up at 6 a.m., I will be so tired by noon, and you will not get the best version of me when you need the best version of me.
Exactly.
So I think that it's critical to not subscribe to hustle culture and what getting up at 3:30 and you need to eat this food and you need to exercise this much and do this, you know. We're big on the morning routine too. You know, we have the kids, so the kids go after school, and then our day doesn't really start till 8 a.m. where it's like I'm journaling, he's journaling, we exercise, and then I do a social media post, and then I go to my desk, or if I'm out the door, you know what I mean. But you can still be successful. Again, defining what success looks like in your own life by doing it your way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're firm believers of building your business around your life, not building your life around your business.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the morning routine isn't something, I mean, now you kind of hear about it a lot more.
Yeah.
But was that something that was always ingrained in you,
Or
or
you
did
had
you
to
have to
figure out?
figure it out? Because we're similar to you in how important that morning routine is.
Yep.
So we know how important it is, but how did you find it?
I mean, you know, my wife had a little bit to do with it. Obviously hearing about it, but I think it was just testing, and I've started to notice like the impact it has on my body. Like when I wake up and I just go straight to my phone and text messages, like my heart is just like pounding out of my chest,
Anxiety,
and I'm like,
stress.
holy cow!
Yeah.
And it just it affects my sleep and things like that. But
Totally.
when I focus a little bit more on gratitude, like throughout the day, something really bad could happen, and instead of just going into that emotion right off the bat, I have a little pause,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, wait, you know, how could this maybe be a good thing?
Yeah.
Or how can I, you know, and so it gives me that extra layer of comfort, and so I've noticed the benefits from it, and so that's why I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Yep,
you know,
totally.
Love that.
I couldn't agree more. If I can tell the difference in if it's like for some reason the routine is off and I don't journal and I don't I do a breathing app. So like I do a stretching and breathing app. If I don't do that, I feel a difference physically, mentally, and emotionally at the end of that day. And it even rolls into the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's with running. If he doesn't run, oh my God.
I'm like that too. I need cardio.
I
Yeah.
have to get out. It's something just about being alone in your thoughts and focused on a physical
Well, you're in a
activity.
flow state,
Well,
you know?
yeah, but you're not focused on anything else. Like
Yeah.
my mind's the clearest when I'm exercising, doing cardio.
Yeah.
So
Same thing for me. I play soccer like 3 or 4 times a week
Oh,
just
cool.
to get out all
Yeah.
that stuff. But yeah, and I think same thing too. Recently when the iPhone came up with those different focus things, I think a lot of people haven't played with that, but
No.
I'm really big on those. And so most of the day, my phone is on the work focus, and the work focus is no text messages come through, except my wife. She's the only one
She's
that
the
gets
one that
to-
can get-
she's
yeah,
the one
yeah.
that can get through. But everyone else, I don't get an alert. And because the thing is, I noticed if I'm working on emails, then I get a ding here from
You're
a text
distracted.
message, and then I get
Yeah.
a phone call here, and I'm just like, it just drives my brain absolutely crazy. And there's no way I had so much anxiety and everything. So I'm really big on these focuses where I don't even look. I look at text messages and I go through them all
at one time.
It's like bulk. I forgot what it's called. It's like called bulk tasking basically.
Right.
Mass
So when
replies.
so when it's time to do emails, I go through all my emails.
your
I don't like switch back and forth. When it's time to do text messages, I do all my text messages.
Love that.
And some of my friends are like, oh, you take a little while to text back, but I'm like, it just makes me feel a lot more fulfilled.
Yeah.
Same thing when it's my personal time. Phone numbers that are not saved in my phone don't go through. That's another thing that you can do.
Yeah.
So only my friends and my whoever I have saved in my contacts can come through.
Yeah.
I have my wife time. Basically, no one can kind of get through, but I still get text messages, so I can kind of take a peek at it. But I'm not gonna pick up the phone or something.
Right.
So each focus thing I have serves a different purpose.
I haven't jumped into the focus.
I've used it.
Yeah.
I've used it. I think that it's important if you are an entrepreneur, which I keep saying, but like we wear so many different hats at any given time. If you don't, it's almost like time blocking your day. It's a very similar thing where you only focus on one thing. And then you wonder why ADHD like exists so rampantly in today's day and age, because we're not stimuli, but we have way too much stimulus from all different angles. And I think it's 10x when you're a business owner and a solopreneur. You know what I mean? So I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we talked about your biggest challenge. What do you feel like has been your biggest triumph so far? Success in your career?
That's a tough question.
I
mean, I don't know. I don't really feel that yet. I don't feel like I'm successful, but I think that's good because I kind of like to stay a little grounded. Like even when I make a big sale, I'm not like going out and buying bottles or doing anything like just like
You're not buying Lamborghini.
Yeah, I'm not buying like a fancy car or anything. I just kind of stay a little even keeled because when the bad things happen, I'm also not drifting all the way back down.
100%.
So I kind of I even though from the outside it could look like I had a really successful year, I'm just kind of staying neutral. I don't feel like super successful because, I want to build a life for my wife and my future family. And I think success will rear its head around the corner several years from now.
Well, there's always going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
We always move the goalposts, you know, but I think we feel the same way that we haven't reached the peak of what we're trying to work towards yet. But I also think it's important to celebrate wins and remember like how far you've come.
Yeah.
And because you can get burned out easily too if you're not reflecting on past triumphs, I think.
Yeah. Go for it.
I was just going to say, I think success is not like a certain number or this and that. It's the journey.
Yes.
It's how I've changed my life going from, being my family business, sort of feeling unfulfilled to where I'm now, where I look forward to waking up every day. Before I would only look forward to the weekends because that's when I could go out. Like now it's like, I don't look forward to the weekends. I look forward to every day. The weekends to me are nothing special. It's just like, and so I think that the journey is what really is my indicator of success. If I'm happy along this journey, then I'm on the right path.
Yeah,
I agree.
Love that
wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I feel like that the other thing you were talking about being very like even keeled is a superpower for entrepreneurs. I think a lot of times the business that we're in is very up and down. Right. We have super high highs and then very very low lows. So if you can manage that and stay even keeled throughout, you perform better, right? You're more optimized that way. And I think that takes a lot of practice and skill. I think as we're growing, we're becoming more like, I think me more than you. Yeah.
You're definitely more even keeled. I'm definitely more emotional. But I think how you do that, how you remain even keeled or work towards that, there's so many things. But I think the routine, the gratitude, the exercise, the mindset and the emotion set, and all of these things play a factor in being able to remain stable in an industry that's a roller coaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Cool. So, I mean, what's going on with did you guys shut down the Kamohai beachwear and stuff?
Yeah. So no, my dad's kind of still selling off my remaining inventory. My dad is in the process of actually selling the business because my brother and I both are not interested in taking the business over.
Yeah.
And I think it was a great business my dad built. He designs, manufactures, and retails swimwear. Everything's locally made in Hawaii,
crazy.
100%.
Wow.
I can literally go in the morning, come up with an idea for a bikini, design it on the computer, print it, cut it, sew it, take that bikini home at night. And no
Wow.
other
That's
company,
wild.
it's
Can
like
do
big
that.
enough to be able to have that sort of manufacturing, but small enough to where it doesn't make sense to make it in China or Bali or something like
Right,
that. So
right,
it's just
right.
the perfect size. It's just such a cool company.
Yeah.
But both of us are not. It's high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
And I think my dad did an amazing job. But I think I wanted to focus on real estate because I think that to me I have a lot of control, and to me it's a little bit more stable. And
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So where are you going? What's next for
next?
you? Like, what are your goals? Like, you know, what are you working on?
So next, I definitely want to get a little bit more involved with development, maybe a little bit more on the commercial side. I have a lot of friends who are business owners, and so I'd love to kind of dabble in commercial real estate, development, sort of that on the real estate front. Passion wise, my friend started the Lace Stand, asked me to invest, and so I'm invested in that. I wanted to get a peek as to what that kind of industry is like, because I love to entertain people.
Yeah.
I love going out
Yeah.
to bars and
Yeah.
drinking and having
Yeah.
fun and just being present and
Right.
letting loose a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, it's been great. The bar's doing really well. A lot of people like to go there.
I mean, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah.
The Lace Stand, like
Where
who
is it?
started?
Yeah.
Like, who's your friend? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
Ryan Suji came up with the idea. Actually, he asked me to invest at I swear to God, it was probably like 2:00 in the morning. We were
no
like,
way, you guys were
drunk.
out.
We're out, and he's got the idea, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that sounds so sick. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in, I'm 100%
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
He calls me the next day. I've got this,
Yeah.
massive
Yeah.
headache, and
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, what
wait,
did I
what
say?
did I say
What?
we're gonna do?
Yeah. But I'm a man of my word, and I didn't want to go back on what I said I would do,
Yeah.
and so I explored a little bit more. He taught me a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, wow, this sounds like
This
super
sounds
legit.
cool.
And so, he's the mastermind behind the whole thing. I invested in it, and we actually this past March had Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber come in.
No way.
Yeah,
What?
closed it down for them. So,
Really?
Wow.
but yeah, it's been really, the food is amazing. The drinks are really good. It's meant to be a speakeasy. So during the
Yeah.
daytime, we actually sell Lays in the front.
Yeah.
In Chinatown, it's on Bethel, right across from the Hawaii Theater.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at night from 5 to 11 turns into a bar. And we've got a bunch of different, so we have an indoor space, we have an outdoor space, and then we're currently working on a third back private room area that can be reserved out for birthdays and
Oh,
Yeah,
private
yeah,
events
that's cool.
and things
Cool.
like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been cool to see him on his journey because he's an entrepreneur. He's focused on media, and this is kind of a passion project for him.
Yeah.
And just to see him grow and put out all these fires and stuff has been really cool.
That's neat.
So I thank him for that opportunity to.
Should host an event there. That sounds
Oh, yeah.
fun.
Yeah, we'd
that
be happy to
sounds
host
you guys. That'd be
So
fun.
sick.
Yeah.
I mean, just the name is dope. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
I know. Well, the whole concept
The
is
whole-
cool too.
yeah,
Like, you
everything.
guys selling Lays during the day,
so
Yeah.
dope.
and then it turns into like this
Yeah.
super cool thing at night. That's super neat, dude.
And then you said you might do your own bar.
So
soon.
I've seen how much he's worked, and I
Yeah.
definitely don't want it to take away from my real estate duties. And so I think that might be something maybe further down on the road when I don't want to put too many things on my plate, but it's always been a kind of a dream of mine to kind of have my own space where I can bring my friends and family in and my
Totally.
community to just host people. And I
Yep.
was really inspired. I go to Napa a lot for wine tasting, and I just love when you sit down, the phones are off, and you're
Yeah.
just one-on-one with someone, and you can
Yeah.
just sip wine, be present,
Yeah.
get to really know someone. And that human interaction is so important for me because a lot of people think that I'm surrounded by people all the time, and I'm really not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in my pajamas in front of my computer for most of the day.
Yep.
So when it comes to nighttime, I like going out to events and like seeing people and
Connection.
connecting because
Yeah.
I just see my wife and my dogs, and I'm not really seeing a lot of other
Totally.
people. So
Yeah. No,
I mean, I feel like human connection is probably one of the most important things, and I think it's very slept on now. And I mean, with all of the technology we have, it's just getting farther and farther.
Yeah.
People are getting farther and farther away. You may feel like you're closer to so many people, but just having this like intimate, like I was telling you before
Face
the
to
show,
face, you know.
this podcast gives us that. We get to have people in here that we've never met before, and we get to have an intimate conversation with them. Like, this is what life is about, you know, sharing ideas and
just talking connecting about various things.
So I totally get that.
Yeah, me too. I love that. But you also have your own podcast.
Yeah, so I've been doing my own podcasting here and there. I focus a lot on social media. So my house has a couple of extra bedrooms, so I'm focused on the next level of kind of creating something like this in one of the corners of my house. So I appreciate you guys having me on, because it gives me the confidence to like think that I can possibly.
Dude, you can 100% do it. And if you ever need any help, let me know.
Right.
Like I can send you a list of all the stuff in here.
Oh yeah. So I have a question.
Yep.
You mentioned something about a flasher. A flasher key.
Oh.
What is that?
I was gonna say, what was your most interesting open house?
Yeah. So they asked me, what was my most interesting experience as a realtor? And so there's a thing called BMLS. So you have to be physically in front of the computer because all the online leads are coming in. And so they want you to call those leads. They're like Zillow and all
right
those
away.
right away.
Yeah.
So it's a really great experience because you have a lot of at-bats, because instead of messing up on my own clients, I can mess up on the company's clients, you know? But that the more at bats you have, the
practice.
more, you learn how to communicate with buyers and the rejections and things like that.
You can try different things.
Yeah. So one day I'm doing my shift and the secretary in the front's like, oh, you have a walk-in. I'm like, what's a walk-in? There are no walk-ins. Like, and like, they're like, oh, someone walked in and needs real estate help. And I'm like, that never happens. You know? And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, where is he? And it's like, she literally has this like trembling face on her.
No way.
And she's pointing and she's like, him. And it's this guy, he's wearing like a robe. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
What?
I'm not talking to him. And she's like, you have to. I'm like, what do you mean I have to? Like, I don't have to do anything, you know? And the upstairs, there's only two of us there. So it's like, I don't want her, like anything to happen to her. So weird. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll talk to him. Like, I'm like, he comes in, he's like I think it was like a Ritz-Carlton bathrobe or something.
Like,
so
so it's either a billionaire.
Yeah,
or...
I'm like, I don't know. So he claims that he was staying at the Ritz-Carlton, and he wants to buy a house, and he has his checkbook, and he's ready to write buy something right now.
Right.
And he's like, "Do you have anything available?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Do I have anything available?"
What are you
like,
looking for?
What are you looking for? He's like, "Is there anything here?" I'm like, "No, this is a commercial building. We own this building. Like, there's nothing for sale here."
I can show you.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, I want to buy something." So I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this guy's for real. Like, he's like, he wants to buy something. Maybe he's on vacation. Maybe he's got like his board shorts underneath, and he's just super rich, and he's just chilling.
Yeah. Right.
And so I give him the benefit of the doubt. And so he's like, here, like, look, like, this is my checkbook. And like, he's like, kind of shows me like a letter or something. I'm like, okay, I'm looking over there. And in the corner of my eye, I see him taking off his robe and flashing me. And I say, get the F out right now. I don't even like turn to look at him. I'm like, get the F out right now.
Yeah.
And he grabs his stuff and leaves. And then I tell the secretary what happened, and she starts like screaming. We call the cops. We actually had to shut the building down because we didn't see him physically leave.
So you didn't know if he's
so we had to
still in
check.
there.
We had to check every single closet to make sure he wasn't there.
That's so
And
wild.
I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can't believe I just got flashed by a flasher." Like,
that's so crazy.
Such a bummer.
Yeah, I still have such a bummer.
A little PTSD from that.
Yeah, I would too.
Like, if you're in a robe, you cannot compare me.
I learned my lesson.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, that's so funny.
Okay, so the last two questions we have for you are first one, if you could go back to the beginning of your real estate agent career, is there anything that you would do differently?
I don't think so, because I think I was just meant to be on that journey the way it was. And I think, if you're handed the answer, you're kind of, if you're spoon-fed the answer, you're not going to I think I learned a lot from some of the mistakes that I've made. And that's what's made me into a great realtor, because I can protect my future clients because I made like a mistake, or I didn't catch something like that in the past. So I think that's what helped me evolved. And I think, I'm very happy with where I'm at.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're the same.
We're very similar. Just like we were saying, the first 2 deals, like I know a lot of people be like, I would go back and, correct those mistakes, but I think those first 2 deals made us into the investors we are today. And we won't make those same mistakes again. And we know what to look out for. It's just like all of those things build you up to who you are today. This is why you're sitting here.
What a lot of people don't realize is we don't retain information until we absolutely need that. You know what I mean? So you're not going to learn that lesson until you're honestly in a position where you need that information.
I think actually the only thing I would change would be instead of having my wife join me directly, I would have her go off on her own to a different company. And it was tough because it was during COVID. And so brokerages weren't really open. They weren't really doing the trainings. And so it was just so much easier to have her just start under me. But I just think that, I think the world of her. I think she could outsell me. And I think that it would have given her the confidence to maybe do this for herself.
Oh, shout out wifey.
Yeah. And then I could have maybe focused on doing some other things. But,
Yeah. Okay, last question is, what impact do you want to leave with the audience?
Yeah, there's so many things.
I know.
That's
so
always
many.
such a tough question.
I know.
I think number one, creating a system for yourself and focusing on more proactive things, I think has been a big influence on my life. And so not getting caught up on just reactive things, people pulling you in different directions, having the ability to say no. And then setting up a system for yourself to where you know what to do every day and you know what you should be accomplishing and focusing most of your time on that. I think that, there's that book, 7 Habits of, I honestly, I don't even think I've read that, but I've got the Cliff Notes and I really think that book is really important. And then secondly, life is short. I think the goal in life is to be happy, not successful. So if you're happy doing what you're doing, even if you're not making a lot, I think you've won.
Yeah.
And so, don't be stressed out about what you see on social media and trying to get to the next level. Being present, I think, is very important. And I've learned that more recently. I used to be glued to my phone.
Yeah.
And I notice a difference now, like when I have dinner with my wife and I put my phone in the different room.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow, the food tastes better. Our conversations are better. It's just so much more fun. And so learning to kind of create space and work-life balance and things like that, I think has been really important. And so,
love that.
Hopefully people can pick up on that.
Yeah, totally.
Super cool.
Where can people find you?
So I got my own website, www.fieman.com. That's where I run a lot of my real estate from. I'm on Instagram at Ben Fieman. I've got a unique last name, so it's pretty easy to find me. Fieman. And so, I'd be happy to connect. I've been very fortunate. Certain friends and family have picked me up along the way. Life wasn't always rose petals and whatnot. I've had my ups and downs, and my friends have been there for me to pick me up. And so, if anyone's struggling, I'd love to provide a support system for them and get them out of that too.
Yeah,
amazing,
super cool.
Thank you for coming on. This was really enjoyable.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you coming on. Love all the stuff we're doing. We're definitely gonna check out the Lace Den.
Yeah,
awesome. Oh my gosh,
and. Why aren't we doing deals together?
We
are. So I think this is so cool. I think this is the best way to do a podcast because instead of doing it with someone like getting to know them on the spot like this. This was a treat. I've seen you guys on Instagram. I've checked out all of your guys' flips. I think the colors and the things you guys pick are amazing. Like I love it because it's not all just the white and the gold. It's like it's always like earth tones and
I'm totally allergic to cookie cutter.
So
I can't do vanilla.
I love seeing like the different colors and the finishings that you guys are using, and I appreciate this opportunity. And this is like the best way to get to know someone.
We agree, right? It's like selfish. Like we're working right now.
This is work.
Yeah,
wink, wink.
I know, but
I appreciate it. Yep. I will be in touch.
Right on.
Peace,
Aloha.
everybody.
Thank you. See you later.